Hi and welcome to Computer Repairs with Rob, and today I'll be looking at a Asus laptop, and the problem with it is the keyboard. The keyboard does not work properly. Some of the keys work, some don't, and of course that's a pain. The keyboard is not one of those easy ones to just pop in and pop out. This one is more involved because you have to take the motherboard out and a bunch of components to get at the motherboard even. So I want to show you how to do that, so stay tuned. So this laptop we're going to be working on today is an Asus VivoBook. It's an X510u. And the problem is the keyboard is not working properly. Some of the exterior, some of these keys on the outside are not responding. And it's also missing this key, which is not crucial, but these other keys are not working. So I have a new keyboard I just got, and it has the same enter key shape as this one. This keyboard is somewhat challenging to replace because you have to take the whole laptop apart to get at it, and this keyboard will come up from the bottom up into this cover, top cover. So it's a bit involved. Anyways, we'll get into it here. We have to start by taking these screws out at the back, and we'll just do that. As I said, it's going to be a lot of labor or time, I guess, involved in getting this apart. So we just have to have a bit of patience, and it should be all right. You take all these screws out around the outside. And notice that screw is a bit longer, so that one goes in the middle at the back. This is the back, that's the front. And there's one shorty there, and the short ones go up at the front. Alright, so here's our back cover screws. I'll probably separate them out and just put them in this container for now. Set that off to the side, and this back cover should pop off. I have a little plastic tool that's handy for separating the back cover, getting the snaps off, separated that is. Sometimes there's a screw under here on some of these laptops. So we'll lift up part of this rubber and see if there's something under there. In this case there is, sneaky little fellers. And there's likely one on the other pad as well. There is. So these have to come out. There's our two with the foot pads. I'll just set them up aside here. Now it should be a little easier to separate. Something seems to be holding it a little bit here. Not sure what exactly, but there we go. So that's the back cover there. That just comes off. I'm going to set it aside for now. And here we have the next, well, the guts of the laptop. There's the battery, and looks like the hard drive here, the RAM. And that motherboard's going to have to come out. You can see a bit of the keyboard right here in behind the motherboard. So this all has to come out in order to get at that keyboard. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery right here. Ideally it disconnects without, like any connector, disconnects without pulling apart the wires out of the connector. So that metal cover just moves forward and then it lifts up out of the connector. Alright, now that screw there, this is a hard drive tray actually. There's the hard drive tray. We'll just set that aside along with the screw for the battery, so we keep these things together. Oh, my mistake. So this actually is all part of the battery here. Excuse me, it's an L-shaped battery, and that's interesting. So here's a hard drive bay. This looks like an M.2 drive right here. I have to disconnect these wires going to the wireless card in order to get the battery out. And there's the battery. Interesting shape. Usually they're rectangular. All right. This here is simply a little cover for the screw that holds the M.2 drive in place, which we'll have to take that out, because that's going to have to come off in order to disassemble this. Paper is being a little bit obnoxious here. Take the whole paper off with the screw. And this M.2 drive, it just comes out like that. Put that drive up here. Actually, what I'll do is I'm going to put the screw back in here just for safekeeping, so I know where, so I don't lose it. Just leave it in there. That's going to be okay. So this motherboard is going to have to come out. So you can see there's a couple of screws and a couple of connectors. So we can take, doesn't matter which one we take out, we'll take this end out here. So flip this up, and then this cable comes out. Same on this one, just flip that little lever up, and this cable comes out. And same again here. Flip that black lever up, and then this cable pops out. And on the motherboard, there's one screw there and one there. It looks like just the two screws, I think. This screw is going to have to come out for the fan. Now I could pull that apart, but probably I can just lift it out with the motherboard. So let's try that. So we'll take this screw out here. And this one. And we'll have to disconnect this cable here. Looks like it's connecting the speakers, perhaps. And then also this screen monitor cable has to disconnect. We lift up the tape and it should pull out. There we go. So that's out of the way. This hinge may have to loosen up in order to get the motherboard out. And I see that this cable has to disconnect. That's probably what hooks the, that's probably coming from the keyboard. So I'll just lift this up gently. Yeah, so I'm going to have to probably undo that. Hinge. What I'm trying to do is lift the hinge up enough so I can get that out. It's just tight. I guess it will actually turn, so now that the screw's out, it turns up out of the way. Let's see if we can take the motherboard out now. Okay, so it just comes this direction a little bit to let go of these ports here. And there's our motherboard complete with fan that's just being held on just because this tube is in the way, which is fine. It can just stay like that. I'll set that over here, out of the way. Now this one has to come off. Again, we'll take that screw out from the hinge, and then we can, I might just put this screw, this hinge screw in here just to keep it safe. And the same with this one. We'll take it out for the moment. Lift this hinge up. And put that screw back in there just so we know where it goes. You don't have to do that, but it's just kind of handy to remember where. So these three screws are with the motherboard, so I'll just put them kind of with the pieces. Alright, so now this USB card should be able to come out. There we go. And this is just, there's sticky tape on the bottom of this cable to keep it there. Lift carefully, you won't rip the cable, so that can go here as well. And So now we have, the keyboard is under here, obviously. Well, you can't see it because it's closed, the lid's closed, but this is it here. So these brackets, metal brackets on the end, are going to have to come off, and they are glued in, or it's plastic glue, if you will, or plastic that's been melted, pulled down in place. That's going to have to be chipped off, and on this side probably there as well, looks like, and there, a couple of spots where that plastic, and same down here and here, where these will have to be plastic little nubs will have to be chipped off in order to get that out. So let's have a go with that. I'll get my knife. Obviously you don't want to slice your finger or some part of the motherboard, well, of the computer. Motherboard's out, but some other part of the computer. So it looks like there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 plastic nubs held in place here, holding this bracket in place, that is. Okay, that one's off. And that one's off. And that one's off. So that should, let's see if there's anything else holding it. Pop. Looks like we got a couple of long ones here. These ones are round, these are kind of oblong shape. Alright, so now it's just that screw holding it in. Alright, so I have to remember that's where that goes. Put that up out of the way. And the same thing on this side. I can move these tape pieces back because they're going to want to hold that in place. Alright, so there's a number of plastic nubs that are holding this left side in. I suppose a chisel might work actually. Probably have to sharpen it when you're done from scraping against the metal. Just want to make sure the wire's out of the way. You don't want to nick the wire. Just a bit of a time-consuming process is all. Yeah, that screwdriver is not sharp enough. So a chisel, like I said, a chisel might work. I don't have one handy at the moment, but the knife is working. It's just might not be the very best tool. You could experiment yourself, maybe with a little chisel, like I said, or some other device. I suppose you could use a soldering iron even. The soldering iron would melt the plastic. You'd have to keep it from hardening back in the same position, I guess. That piece is off. If you can twist it the right way, it just pops right off. There, I think that's it. So this screw will have to come out again. I think that bracket should come out. There we go. We'll put that up here with the other one. And I'll just put that screw back in for safekeeping is all. So now we're down to the keyboard here. And it's just going to be a process because you got all these plastic tabs which are actually underneath this plastic cover. Isn't that interesting? This one, maybe I'm mistaken about it. Maybe that just pops out. Let's see here. Maybe it's just those end tabs that held it in place. Slide that out of the way. So all we're left with is the top cover for this laptop. And let's see what's holding that in exactly. So it looks like I'm going to have to take this plastic cover off. There's this plastic cover covering all these key backs. And I guess I'm going to have to pop off all those little plastic nubs, of which there are many, because it's not easily letting go. Yeah, once that plastic pops off, then it comes off. So yeah, I'm going to have to remove this plastic like this. Move that out of the way. Maybe I have a flat screwdriver that'll work to pop these little plastic nubs off here. Not really sharp enough. The knife seems to do a quicker job of it. Like I said, if I had a chisel that might work better, but I don't have one right here. See how it's doing here. Yeah, that's letting go. These, just there's so many of them. as if the keyboard could go anywhere when it's got the motherboard holding it in place and those two brackets on the end. I think it's a bit of an overkill. However, I guess it keeps the keyboard in place in the various places in the middle where so you know when you go to hit a key, you want it to be up all the way. So I guess these nubs keep it in that position. I'm going to have little plastic pieces all over the place here when I'm done. Yeah, so it's coming. It's just going to take time. You have to get all those plastic nubs off, which there are many, like I said. I mean, one alternative to replacing this keyboard is simply to use a USB keyboard, an external one. Trouble is, of course, that makes it less portable. You know, the idea of a laptop is it's portable, and it takes up extra space on your desk or your lap or wherever it is you're putting it, because now you've got not only the keyboard that's on it, but now you've got this USB keyboard. You have to sit somewhere. However, a USB keyboard you can buy for, you know, $10 to $20, whereas this internal keyboard is going to end up costing probably on the order of $100 or so because of the labor involved, plus the part itself and the shipping and all that. So it all adds up, you know. I mean, if you're doing it yourself, you get to save on the labor. If you're paying someone else, then, you know, it gets costly. There, you can see it's coming. It's starting to let go as I get all these nubs off. Probably one under that tape. There is. I definitely don't want to slip and cut this ribbon cable. I'll just keep that out of the way. There's a ribbon cable right there, and there's these nubs. I'm going to go towards me. That way if it slips, it's not going to cut the ribbon. Keep that cable out of the way. I think we're getting pretty close to being done here. You can feel them with your finger. You can tell that there's something there just by moving your finger along. I think that's all of them. Let's see what happens when we lift this up. Oh, there's one there I missed. Try it again. I don't have to be super careful with it because I am replacing it after all. There we go. So there's the old keyboard. And here's the new one. Looks to be quite similar, thankfully. On the back we have this screw down. Alright, so get rid of that keyboard and get ready to install the new one. Wipe away the mess a little bit. Lots of little bits and pieces. I'll just give that a little wipe there. Feels like a bit sticky. I'm guessing something was spilt. Maybe that's why the keyboard went in the first place. Usually keyboards are fine unless they get things spilt on them. Or there's physical damage, like that one key that was completely missing. Alright, so then we can put this in. Make sure the cable's not buried underneath that. Alright, so there's our new keyboard in place. Well, not solidly in place yet, but it will be soon. And in this one they don't have the spots for you to glue in. This is a different design. I guess they assume that, hey, you don't need all those plastic tabs to hold it in because the motherboard actually holds it in. Plus those end tabs. This black plastic is not really meant to come off because it's not coming off. Not easily like that clear plastic on the other one. So on some keyboards you have to actually re-glue some of those spots to keep in place, but this one apparently is not like that. So we'll put these end brackets back on. This one goes here, of course, for the left side, and there it is. Screwdriver. I'll have to take this out again later, but this just keeps in place slightly for now. Now these ones we can re-glue with a hot glue gun. So in different spots and down here at the bottom, because they don't have screws holding them in place. I mean, this has a screw to hold in place, but the rest of it doesn't. Same thing on the right side for the right bracket. Put that there. Put the screw back in temporarily. Now I'm going to get the hot glue gun and we can touch up these spots and kind of remelt it into place. Maybe add a little dab of glue just to keep it there. All right, let me go get the glue gun. All right, we have the glue gun. Probably could do this. You might well do this with a soldering iron too. Just a matter of heating up the plastic. Don't need a big blob on there, just a little bit is fine. I'm holding it down a little longer than I need to, just to try and melt some of the plastic, the hard plastic that's under there. And I just put a little dab of glue there. Keep the wire away from the hot part of the glue gun. Don't want to melt the wire, that'll be disastrous. Alright, that's that side held in place. Let's do this one. Do one of these long strips. You don't have to do every single spot where the plastic was tabbed before. I think that was a bit overkill, like I said. So the inner keys, the outer keys are up. The inner keys, you can see, if you push in the back, they come forward. So hopefully once we get the motherboard in place, everything back in, it'll keep that keyboard, the keys down by keeping them out so that they're not recessed too far. So as I said, there's no spots on this one to hold it in place like there were on the old one. So we're ready to begin reassembly, I believe. So let's start with the motherboard, which is going to go in this vicinity here. Make sure the cables are out and not being squashed. Alright. Everything seems to line up there. Okay, so here's our motherboard area screws. So we had one here. Nice that they put the arrows there. There's a little arrow there. There's an arrow there. And there's one holding this one down. Maybe one goes in there at some point. And here as well at some point. And here, but that's probably other other ones. Just about missed that little cable. Give me a little bit of grief this one. If you don't get it at just the exact right angle, it won't go in. There we go. One, two, three, four, 5, 6. This one. Just wrote that a little bit so it goes in there. All right, we can put this battery in, I believe. I think actually this goes in first. This USB port, which then connects here. Then the battery. We can route these antenna cables for the wireless card. That's the white one, now the black one. All right, those are on. And the hard drive tray, which this one doesn't have a hard drive in it. I mean, it has the solid state drive. You can tell by this lip here, there's a lip right here, which means it needs to go on top of the battery. Otherwise the lip would be hitting the bottom of the battery arm there. putting the two shorter screws at the back of this tray, the two longer ones up here. And now I have these three long ones left over, which I'm going to put to hold the battery down here. This one has a little arrow, which is kind of nice that they forget where they go. They just look at the little arrow. There's another little arrow there. And there's one up here, actually. So if you're putting them back together and you forget where they go, that's helpful to have those arrows there. And there's no arrow on this one, but there is a little arrow there. It's just a black one. You can't really see it unless you're looking closely at it. And this one has the screw that has that tape on that doesn't want to come off very easily. This is for the M.2 drive. I guess I could fight with a bit and try and clean that tape off. But I'm not going to bother. So this one went this way. This is an older style M.2 because it has two notches. So that would be, I believe, what they call the B key. I think the new one's the M key. So this one goes in like that. And then just sits down, put the screw in here. Alright, so now we have to connect the battery. I just want to make sure I have all the screws in place. So there's going to be a screw that holds this down here, corner screw. That screw is going to come through here, this one through here, and this one comes through the cover, as does these outside ones. This one here comes through the cover. So I think we're good that way. Really all that's left is to put this, well, before we get to that, we're going to put this on. So let's take out these little screws that were just there to remember where they went. Nice thing about doing a video is you can go back and see if you're in doubt where those screws actually went. Okay, so something's not right because this cable here is supposed to go into here, and there's no way it's going to reach over there. That's kind of weird how that happened. It should be like that somehow. So how did that get messed up? Well, that's just bizarre. That's how it fits, and yet this screen cable is at the other end. It should be in here. So, as it turns out, that obviously I was getting mistaken. I was thinking this was, you know, up and the keyboard on top, but it's actually the opposite. So, in actual fact, it has to sit like this. So, because when you open it up, there's the keyboard, so that's how it sits. That has to be how it sits. So this just goes in here. Why don't I put it like this instead? It's probably a simple way to do this. There we go. So you put it in vertically and then lay it down. And now it's in place. Nice. Okay. So now that lines up with the socket, the motherboard. That just pushes in once you line up properly. Okay, it snaps into place, and the tape simply is to hold it down so it doesn't vibrate out of place. Alright, now I just push this hinge down so we can put the screw back in. There we go. And again, there's a little triangular, well, it's a triangle. It's a little arrow pointing towards the screw should be, which again is super handy. Because if you don't do them all day, or regularly enough, you're not going to remember where the screws go, essentially. Alright, so that's all in place. And those little triangles, they're hard to see from the camera, but there's one there and there's one there. When you're in person looking at it, they're of course easier to see. That's on. So now we're gonna connect the battery. It just goes straight down. And then this metal clip, if you will, bracket, slides forward like that, and now that holds it in place. So now we're ready to put the bottom cover on. So let's do that. We have all their connections in, all the cables are connected, wireless is connected. Alright, that just snaps down. And then the screws will hold it in place. We'll put actually these two in first, these ones that were hiding under the little rubber feet. And you can hear it snapping into place as the screw tightens it down. And the rest of our screws, I'm just going to lay them out here. So we have one, two, looks like just two short ones, the rest are long ones. So to be fair, I don't exactly remember where the short ones went. I think they went in these two corners here. Just in looking, I'm seeing these holes look deeper, so I'm going to try them in the corners. If they catch the threads, then we know that's the right place for them. And that does, so the long ones will go in the rest of the holes. The rest of them are all the same length except this long one here, which I think went in the back middle. There we go. And that one grabs. So the rest are all the same size, same length, and they can just go in the other holes. This laptop came in without these. These two rubber pads were missing, so I can't put them back on because I never got them in the first place. And that one is actually not hitting this, contacting the threads. Let's see if we can go around it and get it later. Okay, so it's up, eh? So I push it down. I can snap it into place. And maybe we can get it in. Or maybe there's a reason why it's not snapping into place. I wonder if that cable, oh, there it just snapped. Okay. But actually it feels like it's not going down all the way. There's something under there. I wonder if it's that, if I had the one cable, it's blocking it from snapping in. So now I'm going to take all the screws back out and investigate that. I don't want it squashing a cable and doing some damage. I'll also find out now before we're done with it. Alright, these have to come up. See, I forgot those already. Oh yeah, see, so you can see the, well, you can't see it, but right here, there's the cable. Comes from, I believe, the speaker, so it probably should be on the inside of that plastic tab in order for the lid, the back cover, to snap in. So I'm just going to move it over to the inside. There. That seems like a better fit anyways. Yeah, see, that's what it was. It was going on top of this clip, which is what the cover is supposed to connect into. So good we found that and didn't try to force it in. And if we look at it now, it's nice and flush. So that was a problem. That cable was holding it up. So now we can put the screws back in and we should be good to go. I'm going to put the short screws in the corner, two front corners. All right, it all looks to be in place. Now we can open it up and see how it works. There's a screen, that's a good start. Alright, so let's check out this keyboard. We'll open up a program. We can use Notepad, doesn't matter which one. And let's check out the keys, how they're typing. They also, when you work in, hold the shift key down, take it off, put it on. So that's working. Caps lock, all capitals, turn it off, back to lowercase. Windows key, yep, Windows key's working. So now these keys are working, got the power button here. So it looks like it's all working good. And that's a wrap. Have a great day. Hope this video helps.